Welcome to the video lecture series facilitated by Grochowski. In today's video lecture, we'll be discussing the marketing research process. When we look at marketing research, we're going to look at it from evaluating is it a process or is it a task. We look at, first of all, how marketing managers are going to be making decisions. The idea of marketing research is going to be part of that. A lot of times we think of research as a formulated or formal process. And when we tie marketing research into part of a company's marketing information system, we'll see that marketing research isn't necessarily this formalized study that we think of. We are now in the information age. We are now collecting more information and more data than we've ever had before. And so because of that, we have a lot of different information that we may be pulling from. Especially if you're working in a retail environment, you'll know that we do a lot of comparisons in retail on what we did last year on this day, what's our year-to-date versus last year's year-to-date. We're doing a lot of different comparisons. You can't go shopping anywhere, be it at a clothing store, a grocery store. Every place we go now, there is a computer taking our transactions. A lot of times we think that's to make the money counting process easier for the employee. The reality is what we're doing with those computers is we're tracking every single sale that you are making. I do work with a local restaurant, and I can track every single customer that comes in, how long they're there for, what they purchase. I can pull out how many people purchased XYZ items this week, how many of a specific item that we sold. I have tons of information. I think there's a total of 385 last time I checked, different reports that I could run from my point of sale software. Now, based on that, that means there's a lot of information that I'm going over. And so we need to look at what is marketing research and when are companies using marketing research. Unfortunately, a majority of companies are going to use marketing research when it's too late. And so they might say, oh, sales are down, so let me do a study. And that's why marketing research needs to be more of a process than a task. And really, marketing as a whole needs to be considered a process versus a task. A lot of companies only use it when they feel they need to. But if you're doing research as a process over and over again, it lets you track data from a long period of time. One company I worked with was a grocery store chain, and what we did is we did the exact same study every single year. And so we could say, okay, the one year we saw our customer service numbers weren't exactly where we wanted them at. And so based on the information we gained from that research study, we instituted a customer training program that following year. When we redid that study the next time, we could say, okay, what of our responses using the exact same questions from year A to year B? And if we saw an area of improvement, we could say, well, we can identify that improvement was in part because of the training program that we had put in place. When you look at the sources of information that we're going to be getting, and we're going to be talking about inside sources, meaning from inside the company. We already talked about sales information, and I can pull anything from our computer system, identifying point of sale information, information about specific products, information about specific demographics of customers. A lot of times research can be non-formal, meaning that we're getting feedback from our customers. It could be them actually going in and telling us, hey, I didn't like this product, or wow, that was really good. Or it could just be us asking those customers informal type of questions that, what did you think of that? You know, something, it doesn't have to be, again, we don't have to have this big formalized plan to get information from our customers. And then finally, yes, you do have formalized research studies where we're trying to make sure that we're identifying specific pieces of information. When we talk about why a process, we want to make sure that we're going through a specific sequence of steps. And there's certain factors that we're trying to manipulate or manage. We want to make sure that we're asking questions in a proper way and that we're identifying the right batch of customers or the batch of the public that we're going to be looking at. And so throughout the course, we'll be talking about identifying what's the right sample, how do we select people that are going to be participating in a study, how do we balance the people that participate in a study versus the balance of people who are actually customers. Those are all items that we'll be looking at. We look at the idea of task versus process. A lot of times when we look at the idea of a process, we're thinking of a continuous thing that's going on over a period of time. A task is a one-time shot. And we really aren't committed to marketing research and really aren't committed to improving our organization if we're only doing it when we see that there's a perceived problem. Because the reality is, by the time we think there's a perceived problem, it's generally too late for us to do anything about it. And so we want to make sure that we're identifying and evaluating data ongoing on a regular period of time versus just a one-time event. It's much easier for us then to map out what our progress has been. And so when we talk about the different steps that we have in the research process, the first thing we need to do is to formulate or design the problem. And so we're basically going to say, what is the research problem? Second thing we're going to do is we're going to determine the research design. And that's going to be, are we going to be doing a focus group? Or are we going to be doing a survey? What is the design of the research we're going to be gathering? Then next we're going to talk about the data collection method. We're going to create the data collection forms. We're going to design samples. We are going to design our sample size, which basically means who is going to be participating, how many people are participating, and how are we going to ensure those people are going to make a balanced representation of the overall people. Then we're going to be collecting data or information, and then we analyze and interpret that information.